Here we are. We're doing a little on-site thing today. Vermeer D24x40a. Fairly old machine. I think this machine's maybe like year 2000, something like that. We got a pretty big leak coming from our front main seal here on the engine, which is the seal behind our crank pulley there. We have a lot of residual oil and stuff like that, so we're gonna get this cleaned up. We're gonna remove the front cover, reseal that, have a gasket for that. Little leak from the oil pan on the bottom there. Also doing valve covers on this thing. There's a side rocker cover here we're gonna reseal. Also, brand new motor mounts, 1, 2, 3 motor mounts that should be. Kind of big project. They kind of already helped us out. We got like half tear down here, so we're gonna remove a couple more things just to gain a little bit more access, and then start the reseal on this thing. Anyways,
I'll start with that then?
yeah, black nose. So all of these bolts are all different sizes. So what I'm gonna do here is, as you can see, these ones are longer. Then most of them are gonna be this shorter one here. So I'm gonna put dots on where the longer bolts go, so that way once I reseal this thing, I won't be all confused trying to figure out where these things go. If it's leaking from there or not, or if it's just the main seal, because if it is leaking from that back cover, then I should take it off. But I have to take this one off, this one, and this one, all three of these off, and pull this part off.
New seal, old seal, another old seal.
We clean all this off, so that once we put our new one on here, then it'll seal. Oh shit, almost died. Because he's actually pretty good at catching. The bolt also has a new grommet. The grommet comes with it. Usually this is where these things will leak from as well. But not only leak, but if you could see this one, it's kind of cracked and old. The rubber gets brittle and starts cracking and get water into here. And it's, obviously we don't want water in the engine. So we always have to replace those grommets on that thing, on that bolt as well. As we tighten the bolt, the rubber squishes down, creates a seal. Let's change this last one out. play on the team, so they waive everything else you gotta buy out of pocket if you don't have gear already. And then this gasket, they couldn't find it when I ordered the parts. Oh, okay. So I just reordered it right now. Next up on our to-do list on this, behind our fuel injection pump here, on the side of the motor, cover, something like that, I don't know. But oil runs through that cover and it's leaking. Our next step here is take our injection pump, right? So that we can access that cover. But in order to do that, I need to get this motor in top dead center on cylinder 1 and then pull off this gear, and then I'll be able to dismount our injection pump there, pull that back and open the cover, replace the seals, then put it all back together. First step here is removing our injector on cylinder number 1 so that I can stick something in there. We're most likely gonna put like a rod or maybe a screwdriver, and then I'll go ahead and spin the crank here, and we want the piston to come up to indicate to me that this is in top dead center. So first thing we're doing is taking off our injector here. Just like that. So all of these are gonna have to come off, obviously. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put the number positions on them, just so I don't get confused when everything goes back together. We're removing the actual injector from the head. So we're gonna pry here on the bottom of our collar, and there you go. As you can see, injector's coming up, and just like that. So we'll go ahead and pull it. Put 2 bolts back in for our crankshaft. Jam this up into here, and we're gonna rotate the motor. This is our injector hole, so put a straight pick into there. So the idea of what we're trying to do here is we're gonna turn the motor until our number 1 piston comes up. We want number 1 to be all the way up. That way, once I take this injection pump off, it'll be on time, whether or not it needs it. But that way I know once we put this thing back together, it should start right up, no problem. Gonna turn the crank and you'll see it come up right now. Just like that. And we are topped out. Right here, we have this one marked as a 0, this one marked as a 00 on our cam. So this is telling me that we're lined up for time here. This is our camshaft, this is our crankshaft. This is lined up there, and then if you go here, this is lined up too. The 0 is to the 2. For whatever reason, this thing is probably timed already like that. These different markings are for different positions within the pump. So obviously it's marked on the 2. So we want to make sure that we put it back the same way when we take it off. And then, I still need to replace the seal on here real quick. Oh, this is a metal one. I don't need to replace that seal. We're done here. So we have a little orientation nipple there. That's going to be facing down. Drop this right back in. Move our return out of the way. Drop that in. And give it a little tap for good luck. Our injector is orientated. I'm going to tap it in a little bit. Just like that. Just to get it seated down. And then we're going to remove our injector line here. Start to tighten our collar for our injector lock. Our socket on there. I don't want any resistance here because then obviously that would mean that our collar is getting cross threaded. Right there, it's seated. Give it the final lockdown here. And that injector's seated again. Our return line is in the correct spot. So this is our seal for our return line for the fuel. It's a little, call them like a horseshoe seal or something like that, made out of copper. We dropped this and picked it up. A lot of people will take these off and drop them and then forget that they dropped them and put the bolt back on, and then you'll have a pretty big leak coming from here. Put this right there, just like that, and onto the injector. Like that. Let's get the other ones on before I tighten this down. Okay, that one more. These bolts are pretty special because, as you can see, they have the hole for our fuel to go through, and then the fuel squirt out of the injector, whatever left over is squirted out through here and then connected to our line right there, and that's how the fuel gets returned out. So I removed our nut from our gear on our injection pump already. Removed our inlet banjo. This is our feed. So now we're gonna start removing these nuts. These are mounting nuts on the outside. So there's two more on the back, and then we'll be able to pull this injection pump out that way. Also removed our injector lines. So we're gonna pull this injection pump back, and then you'll see the cover that we're gonna reseal behind there after this. Here we're removing our fuel filter. There's one bolt on the back of the injection pump back there that's very hard to get to, and I have no space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this filter head. This is our pre-filter and our secondary fuel filter. I'm taking off this filter because inside there's going to be a bolt that holds this thing onto there. Once I remove this assembly, then I'll be able to fit an impact gun into here with some extensions so I can get that last bolt out. We removed our filter head that was normally here, which was actually a good thing anyways, because as you can see, there's a bolt here. This cover that's following here, this is the cover that we're actually going to remove to reseal. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There should be 4 of it on the cover behind this injection pump here. So now we're gonna stick some extensions into there and try to get that last bolt that's behind our injection pump over there. And there's our nut. Oh yeah, right there. We got it. We got engagement. Woo. There we go. We got it.
Mission accomplished.
Yes, sir. We got all of the 4 mounting nuts loosened and off on the back of the side of the pump. So now we're going to turn our attention towards getting this gear off. Luckily, we have a handy dandy steering wheel puller in our truck. Just a standard pull kit. You got a pull bar, and then I found some bolts that work with the thread on this thing. So we're just going to go ahead and thread these 2 bolts in as far in as it can, just so that we get the most pull on it and we don't damage our bolts or anything like that. So if we can't take these things out, then we're kind of screwed.
Haha, I get it. Screwed.
Uh-huh.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. What this is gonna do is it's gonna push on our center shaft that way and pull our gear out. So we're gonna add a little bit of pressure here, get this thing to pop off. Now we're gonna pull it off. Hopefully. No. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen, but. And it's hot.
You just torched it for half an hour.
Oil line that I need to remove, and then I'll try to move it back again.
And she's out.
The power of my fingers.
This is an odd close-up. My dude's making huevos rancheros over there. I know he is. Look at him. Let's get a close-up.
Oh, he's wavoing up
Bro,
those.
I know those are huevos.
It was a long and arduous task to get that freaking injection pump off of here, but we finally did it. So now we're gonna go ahead and get to the real reason why we're even taking that pump off to begin with, and that's to reseal this rocker arm cover. So we're gonna remove these 4 bolts here first. This is our rocker arm cover, and look at, see all those little cracks in that material there?
Yes.
Those are all just due to old wear in the rubber, and this is exactly why this thing was leaking. So we're gonna go ahead and move this up. There you go. As you can see, we have our rocker arms exposed. These are actually called push rods. The rocker arms are up there. For whatever reason, they call it a rocker arm cover. Those are solid mounted onto the block there, and the valves, use those as pivot points to push up and down to open the valves and stuff up here that are housed in the valve cover. Why this is built like this, I don't know. This is how old school motors, a lot of old school motors are. So we're gonna install our new seal here on the rocker arm cover. As you can tell, this thing is a lot softer, a lot more supple, a lot better. So it's gonna provide our seal on that cover. Huh?
You really sold it to me right now.
Did I?
I'll buy one off you.
Soft and supple, baby. Just like a brand new roll of Charmin toilet paper. Best there is.
Cut.
Too much? Alright, now we gotta persuade this into place. Just like that.
Talk nice to it.
And come on, baby. Give him some sugar. There we are. So now these 4 bolts also have new seals. So we're taking these off, putting new ones on. That's a gatito, loco.
Sup, gatito? Yo.
Oh, he's sticking his hand in there. He's getting the gun. He's getting the gun. Oh,
It's crunchy.
that's what she said.
That's not good.
So yesterday we ran through and removed our fuel injection pump and resealed our rocker arm cover. Also did our valve cover gaskets. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna reinstall our injection pump, get everything working again, sealed up this way, reseal our front valve cover here, gear timing cover they call it, do our front main seal here that is located on the front cover, take care of that. I think the last thing that we have to do is replace a bearing on one of the tensioners. The last and final thing is going to be our motor mounts here. Let's jump right back into it. Let's get started.
Reinstalling our mount for the injection pump here.
It's just a little support for it. Installed our new O-ring here onto the base of our mating surface for the injection pump. We're having oil leakage, so we want to make sure that we can take care of all of the oil leaks and we don't have that problem, and that this thing can be working for a good while without any leaks. Take a little dab on my finger here, silicone. This is where we're going to be sealing here, so. Alright, we're going to sit that there. because we took one of our studs out here, so we're gonna go ahead and put that stud back in. All right, we got our stud put back in there, so now we have all 4 studs in place. So we're gonna go ahead and push this forward to get it fully seated, just like that. We got a little hack here. Grab the nut, put a paper towel over it like this, and then you can just put your socket in. Once we get in there, it's not falling out, it's not going nowhere, so we can go ahead and get it tightened on, or the thread started at least, and then this thing isn't going to go anywhere. Just like that, right onto it. Just like that. So we got our thread started. There you go. This is our oil feed line for our injection pump. This delivers oil for lubrication.
You know what I'm gonna say. Get your finger out of there, boy. God is good all the time.
Lift pump tightened, throttle linkage, fuel filters on, fuel lines tightened, fuel inlet on. Oh, there you go. One loose right there. So we're gonna bring this down. This piece of the puzzle here, hopefully. And everything else seems to be good. The only thing we got left to do is seal our front cover back, front main seal, fill it up with oil, bearings. All right, so let's get to the front. Yeah, the motor mounts.
Front main seal.
Yeah, they call this a speedy sleeve or some bullshit like that. This collar actually goes on the crank over there, and then this is our new seal for here. So that metal sleeve goes over there. And then that's actually what the seal seals on once we put this on. We're gonna throw a little bit of anaerobic seal on here. This is anaerobic, so it means that it keeps it a little bit flexible. We're just gonna put this on here just for a little bit of added reassurance. When we remove this, we mark our zero timing mark there on the 0, and if you remember, it was actually lined up with the 2. So our 0 is here, lined up with our 2 there, so we don't have any movement on this gear. Now we're gonna go ahead and throw our speedy sleeve on, as Cummins likes to call it. Throw a little bit of assembly oil on it here just to help us out, So we're gonna take a piece of wood. We want to try to get this thing as flush as possible to the face here, because what's going to happen is we're going to bring in our crank pulley that's going to be sitting here. So the crank pulley needs to be pretty flush with this. This is about as good as we're going to get right now. So we're using wood block to push it in. Obviously I don't want to use anything metallic to push this thing in, because then we're going to get damage around our chamfered edge here, and we need this chamfered edge so that when we pull our front main seal in, it'll have a lip to go over and not cut the seal, because then we'll have leakage there as well. So this is as good as it gets right now with our wood block. Once we, like I said, once we put that crank pulley in and bolt it down, that'll push it the rest of the way, that 1 millimeter that it's out right there. Old seal. Give it a little clean. This seal comes with this plastic piece. This plastic piece is very crucial. Do not throw this away. This is actually what's going to help us get over our seal, over our speedy sleeve over there. On the seal, it actually has an arrow and it says rotation there. So what this is telling us is that the shaft is rotating this way. So this is actually the outside of our seal. So the seal is going to go like this, facing towards the outside. Light bead of oil just to help this thing go down. Just like that. Place this into our socket. And what I'll do is I'll lightly tap this on the rear side of here, just so we can get it started. On our old seal, we kind of figured that it was just a little bit, it's almost flush with our cover here, but it's a little bit dipped in. So I don't have a socket that's going to fit exactly over that. So what I like to do is use the old seal. Obviously this, we don't really care if we damage the old seal, so we're going to go ahead and use this to drive in our new one. And a little bit uneven, so we're just going to tap it in where we see needs to go in a little bit more. That looks perfect right there, and our new seal is installed. So now we're going to go ahead and bring the sleeve back, fold it over like this, throw it in, push it back out. There you go. You have your install sleeve to help us get over that speedy seal. Clean our sealing surface here. Just clean this sealing surface. So nice and clean here. So now our next step is to apply some silicone. And grab our new gasket here. This way. Pressure just to get this seated on here. These are going to be our front cover bolts. Let's clean up the threads just a little bit. Get them in there, and then they don't get any contamination onto our silicone or anything like that. Just going to wipe away a little bit of the oil and grease and whatnot that was on here. We're going to make sure that we get this over our sleeve first. Just like that. Line this up. We're going to push. Get it close. Right there. Now, if you remember, we marked the spots with our long bolts. So we're going to go ahead with our shorties here. We're going to go around and just snug these. So you get a little bit of squeeze out from our gasket there, just like that. We're not going to torque these down all the way because we want our silicone to actually cure and create a seal also. I know there's a gasket in there, but just for the added effect, we're going to let the silicone cure. That way we 100% know that we will not have any leaks here. All the way around. have it. We're gonna let this sit, let it cure. What do you say, Richie? Let's go grab some lunch.
Let's do it.
We've got our front cover all on, torqued down. Added our, this is for our fan mount, and everything is torqued down, ready to go. So now we're gonna remove our insulation sleeve here. So now that's gonna let our seal around that speed sleeve or whatever the heck they call it. So next step now is we're going to take our crank pulley, main crank pulley, and install this. Add a little bead of Loctite there. 2, 3, 4. Do a quick zap. This is our belt tensioner here, that mounts onto that bracket that I just showed you, and this is our idler pulley that is mounted on there. This thing was making a lot of noise, and I can tell that the bearings are pretty worn out on this thing. So we have brand new bearings here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these and replace them like that. So now you can see we're lifting it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and follow my way around. Damn it. I'm gonna go ahead and lift it up like this, and I'm gonna put my rag on top of it so that we don't lose it, and work our way around this thing just like that. We got full access to our bearings all the way around. So now we're gonna flip this around, close this vise up a little bit, and we're gonna try and find a socket or something that'll fit into this groove here, and then we can knock both of those bearings out. Here's our new bearing fresh out of the package. These are sealed bearings. As you can see, this has the plastic seal right there. So, and they're both pretty identical, so it doesn't really have a way that they need to go in. So we're just gonna go ahead and dump this in here. I'm gonna lube up this hole a little bit.
Why do you look at me every time you do that? It's kind of uncomfortable.
And then we'll go ahead and use our socket again. Make sure we're nice and centered. Like that. Now we have a little bit of space. Now we can go ahead and grab our second bearing. Add just a little bit more oil there. Dab on here. Go ahead and set this one in right there. When you're pressing in a bearing, you really only want it to press in on your side right here. I'm just gonna tap this in a few times. And then what I'm gonna do, now that I know that that's in there, I'm gonna use this vise to my advantage. Tighten this up a little bit and make it even with that other bearing like that. And then just use the power of the vise. That's dead right there. Just open it up. And there you have it. New bearings are fully seated in there. You can completely see that groove of where our locking ring is going to go in. So that means that we're fully seated. Turn it around and it's fully flush with the backside of our roller there. So this is good to go. Let's go ahead and put the locking ring back in. Get our locking ring back in. Just start with one of our ends of the locking ring there. Hold this and just kind of curl it in. I'm just gonna give this a little push right here on the sitting out. And we're all the way in, and tap it into the groove that way. And we're fully seated there. Got brand new bearings on our idler tensioner. So now let's reassemble this thing. We get our idler pulley. This sits right there. Washer sits right there. Our bolt. That's gonna center this thing. Go ahead and throw that in there. Torx T50 and tighten it down. You hear absolutely no noise. Whereas before you're hearing a scratching noise. That was the bearings are dried out. And if we would have left that on there and those bearings give out and this thing fails, then we could have a potential broken serpentine belt on our motor, or maybe even something worse, and this tensioner falls apart. So now we got brand new bearings in here, so when we start it up we won't have any noise from any bearings. Let's throw our tensioner back on to our base here. Right there. Go ahead and set this. Our tensioner is there. So the last thing we're going to move on to is replacing our motor mounts. Look at that. Look at how fucking tight that thing was. They probably haven't changed this thing in like 5 years. Even my handy dandy homemade strap wrench could barely take this thing off.
New filter?
What the hell is happening? I can't even screw this on now.
Screw it the wrong way.
Am I?
I don't know, it looks like it.
God damn it, Richard, you're a genius!
I know.
Okay, remember folks at home,
Righty tighty, lefty loosey.
right tighty, lefty loosey, and only hand tighten these things, dude. Like, I had a freaking struggle. Use my 27-inch breaker bar
Ah, jeez.
just to get this shit off. Hand tighten that shit as much as you can, and that's good. Don't let these conspiracy theorists tell you that shit's gonna get loose and fall off. All right? That's fake news. CNN is a fraud.
God is good.
All time. We're back here again with this 2440. We kind of ran out of time yesterday, so we weren't able to do the last couple of things that we needed to do, which is replacing our motor mounts. Everything else is done. As you can see, we have our cover sealed up. Our silicone's nice and dry. Our crank pulley on. We redid the bearing yesterday on our idler. So everything else is ready to go. We also changed the oil filter. So we're just gonna throw some oil in here and remove that motor mount. There's also another one back there that you see there, and one more on the other side. So we got the help of this beautiful piece of machinery. They call it a forklift, I believe. And we're gonna hook up our train here. We're gonna bring this in and remove all of our bolts and hardware, and then lift this thing up and replace those rubber mounts. As far as everything else goes, like pertaining to our cooling modules and stuff like that, the owner of the machine is going to actually take those to get serviced, so we don't have to worry about any of that. We're just mostly worried about getting this thing running right and sitting right, no leaks. So let's hop back into it.
No, almost. There it goes.
Okay, so my exhaust is off. Oh, nice. Can't handle this big hose.
These hoes ain't loyal.
So we cleaned out all of our gunk that was in there, just years of leakage, all the dirt that accumulates in here, and it makes like a sludge. So we have to clean all that out. That way, once we put this new rubber in, then we won't have anything that's gonna stop or deteriorate that rubber. When oil sits on the rubber, it makes it expand, and that's why this one is so huge as compared to that, and it's super soft, whereas this is a lot more dense because it's not soaked in oil. Just throw that in. There's this washer that goes underneath here. That's what's going to be sitting on there. Once we put it back down, then I'll throw that in right before then. So this front mount's done. Now we're going to go ahead and move to the side mounts and get those changed out as well. I like to cut them in half or in a few pieces. This helps me get these out easier. This one's not so bad, but since that front one is so worn out, might as well just change all three of them. Like my song?
Beautiful song.
Thank you. I was gonna say something, but
Just don't.
gotta remember to pick that thing up. Alright, perfect.
Good?
Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and set our washer in here. Just like that. We're gonna come down slowly. Won't stay in.
Looks like it.
There she is.
Got it.
Washer on top. Nutty nut. Down. Hold it.
There?
Anyone use the word champ? All American ones, like you get at Red Robin with the endless fries. There we have it. Now we're gonna get the other bolt in, and then we'll snug all three of these up.
There it goes. Almost, come on.
Pick up that one more.
Yeah. Oh my god. Ready? Yeah. Two. Is it? This is from a distance. Here. Here. Alright.
Alright, there.
Struggle of the century, folks, but we got it in this tight confined space here.
Came out of a different color. That was ridiculous.
We did it though.
Alright, let's tighten this up and get out of here. Let's do it.
Alright, let's tighten this up now. Alright. That's good. Let's get these other ones. I'm gonna get this last one by hand real quick.
I'm gonna save it, baby.
This one's spinning.
Alright, well, that's a wrap. We got everything done off of our checklist. So what we did end up doing is we placed all three motor mounts, 1, 2, 3. We resealed our front timing cover that had a leak. We did a new front main seal here. Replaced bearings and a tensioner here. Also on the side of the motor we resealed what they call the rocker arm cover. So that shouldn't have any leaks at all anymore either. And we also finished it up with valve cover gaskets, 4 individuals there. We also did an engine oil replacement, filter replacement there. The customer is going to end up getting the oil cooler sending it out and getting cleaned, as well as the radiator there that you see. Once all that's said and done, this thing will be back up and running brand new again. So it shouldn't give him any problems for a few years to come, I would say. He should have some good, strong work out of this machine, at least for a year or two before we have any other issues. That's a wrap here. We got everything cleaned up, so we're just gonna go ahead and head out. Let's go.